Hello and welcome to this quick After Effects tutorial about automation blocks. As was asked in the forum, how you can write a script that inserts many compositions as pre-comps into another composition sequentially, such that at the point where one ends, the next one starts in time. I wrote a little example scripts for this, which you find in the community library now at layer insert, then insert selected project items sequentially interactive sequence. So the idea here is we've got a main composition and make sure it is selected, and we have some other layer, so footage items or pre-comps or whatever. You can just select those, make again sure your comp is active, and in automation blocks you run this tool. And now you can see it inserts these layers sequentially here. And let's take a look at the code. It's actually not too complicated. So this here is the entire block code of this tool, and let's recreate it from scratch such that you can understand how you would create such a block code yourselves. So I clicked here on new to create an empty script, and what we want to do is we want to insert layers in a composition, right? So we go to AE layer, and here we've got the create new footage layer block, and we drag it inside of here. And now the point is we do not just want to do this once, but we want to do this for all of these project items. We want to execute this once, yeah? Like the first time we want to insert here this pre-comp 6 item, the second time we want to insert this one, and we could just duplicate this block here many times and each time pick a different clip here. But this would be very unhandy because whenever you change the items here, you need to update your script. So what we need to do instead, I deleted this one, is to use a loop. We want to do something with project items selected here. So we go to the A project items, and we've got here this loop block. The loop blocks are always the green ones, and they all have this gap that you can see inside of here. And this one allows us to do something with all project items in a particular bin, or with all selected project items, for example. What we need to understand is we plug this in here, and then as footage items that we want to insert, we just need to use the variable myItem. So why myItem? Because this myItem has been created here once we drag the green block in. And this says like I will call this block here many times, and each time my item represents one of the project items that you want to process. Yeah. So now we just need to specify which project items do we want to process. Yeah. By default, it processes all items in the root bin of the project, because it says in the project bin empty bin. This is like just the root bin. Yeah. So in this case, it would only be this item and this folder, but not the contents of this folder, because these two items are in the root bin of the project. They are not inside any subbins. Yeah? We could also say in project bin and subbins. This would mean everything, yeah, all project items. And we can say from all project items, please only the selected ones. This is what we want to do. Yeah, we want to take from all project items here only the ones that are currently selected. You can select, for example, these 3, and then only these 3 will be used. And here you can filter further. You can say if something is selected, but it's a folder. So if this item is selected, it does not make any sense to turn this folder item here into a layer. Yeah, you can only turn footage items and comp items into layers, but not folder items. So we uncheck folders and solids here and say only from the selected items, I'm only interested in the footage and the composition. And for all of them, I want to run this block. Let's see what this is looking like. We select these items, make sure we've got here an active comp, and we run our script. Now you can see this block has been executed 3 times, and 3 layers have been created here. And if I look at the layer name, the layer name of them is always just new layer, and with a number to make them unique, because this is the layer name we specified here. Let me delete those again, and now make this a little bit more the way we want to do it. First, the layer should have the name of the project item itself, right? So we need to figure out what is this project item name. And for this, we look for an get attribute of project item block. This can tell you all kinds of things about a project item. And we plug it in here where we have our layer name. And it can retrieve all kinds of information from the layer from the project item. And one of the things it can retrieve is the name. So this will be precomp 5 or precomp 3 or whatever you've got here as a name. And we want to retrieve the name of, well, the project item we are currently processing. So I duplicate this here and plug it in here. If we now run our script again, you can see the layers are named properly: precomp 5, precomp 4, precomp 3, as we have them here. But the timing is not correct yet. So what we want to do now is we want to, after we inserted these layers, we want to offset them. We want to shift them to the side. We want to set their start time. If you want to set an attribute of such a layer, you go to AE layer, and you find here also get attribute, where you can retrieve something like the name of it or its start time or whatever, and you find set attribute. And we want to set the attribute. After we've inserted the layer, we want to set an attribute of it, namely its start time. So we look here for start time. And how should we, first of all, we need to answer the question of which layer? Well, of the layer that we just created here. And here this says create new footage layer as my layer. And as my layer is the same as here as my item. It says I create it, and then I save it in the variable my layer, such that when you need it later, if you want to do something with the layer you just created, then you can use this variable my layers. So I go here to variables, choose the variable my layer, and drag it here to say I want to set the attribute of this layer. And this one comes out, and I can just put it here in the garbage then. Now I need to define the start time. If I set this just to 2, for example, for all items, and let me delete this here again and select again a few compositions and run the tool. Oh, and make sure the comp is selected and run the tool. Then you can see, if I zoom in closely here, all these start now exactly at 2 seconds. This is always a value in seconds here. But what I want to do is I want this to change over time. So the first one should start at 0, the second one should start where the first one ended, and so on. So therefore I need an additional variable that remembers where I'm currently at. So the first one starts here, the next one a bit more here, the next one here, and this next insertion time should be stored in a variable. So we go to variables, say create variable, and name this variable insertion time. And you can choose any name you want here, of course. And we start this with a mass value of 0. So the first one should start at the beginning of the composition. And then we want to use this insertion time here as the time where we insert our layer. Now the important point is that after we inserted a layer here, we want to change the insertion time such that the next one will be inserted at a different time. So we go again here to variables, and we've got here change. We can change the insertion time by 1. If we do this and run the script, you can see they are offsetted such that the first one starts at time 0, the next one starts at 1 second because it's increased by 1, next one again by 1 second, again by 1 second, and so on. So we are almost there, but what we now want to change is we do not want to have this offset of 1 second, but it should be shifted by the length of the clips that we just inserted. So if we inserted precomp 1 here, then we want to know what's the duration of this, and then that's the amount that we want to be shifted, that we want our insertion point to be shifted. So we need to retrieve the duration of this layer. Or more precisely, we want to retrieve the duration of the clip here that we inserted, right? So here we got the attribute name of this clip. So here's a name, and now we just duplicate this entire thing and say, in addition to the name, here we also need the duration of it. This will give us the duration of the precomp or footage item. duration. And now we can plug this in here to say, change the insertion time by the duration of this clip. And if we now check this again, run script, you can see now they are offsetted properly. Yeah? Now you can do some fine-tuning tweaks, like for example, if you say where you want to insert these project items, maybe you want the first one to be inserted at the current time and not at the beginning, then you could fine-tune this value here too. Yeah, could say, instead of starting always at 0, I want to start at the playhead position of the sequence. So this is an information from the sequence, composition. Yeah, this is the playhead position of the composition. So we go to AE comp and see what attributes a composition actually has. The composition has the current time. Yeah, if we do this, if we plug here in the current time, you can see it's always the same. Yeah, you've got attributes of compositions, you've got attributes of project items, you also have attributes of layers. They all work in a pretty similar way. And we need to delete the 0 here then. That was plugged in automatically when we when we plugged this in here, the 0 from here was plugged in here, which was not what we want. So get the current time of the active composition as the start insertion time. If we run this, you can see it inserts the elements here starting from the current time and not from 0. Cool. Another thing you can do is to say, I don't want to always select the elements that I want to insert. I want to always insert all elements from the bin precomp, for example. Yeah. Then you say, I don't want selected items, but I want from this bin, so I select this and click here this refresh item. This is inserted here. So this says now use all items and from the bin precomps and its subbins. You can also say only from this bin and not from subbins of it if you want. And again, here you've got this filter which kinds of items you want. Now, without having anything selected here, we can just choose our composition, run the script, and our clips are inserted. So this is how you insert new layers from your project panel into the active composition in all kinds of different ways concerning the timing and so on. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next one.